we go a step back, how did you become a sound designer? What did spark your interest into sound in the first place, living in South Africa?
My origin story is a pretty common one, I think, in our industry. I started in a music sort of setting, being in bands during my teen years, and being in like a hip hop group, like playing beats and that sort of stuff out of Ableton Live, like on stage, which was super sketchy in the early 2000s. I knew that I had an interest in music and an interest in the technical side of it as well. So I went to university and did a music degree there, but it really focused on what was then called electroacoustic music. So using the studio, DAWs, synthesizers, multi-track recorders, and that sort of thing in a musical context. And that's where I got my sort of feel for the technical side of music. And then went on to recording bands and that sort of stuff at a recording studio for a little while, recording bands, recording some rock bands, but then also a lot of sort of gospel bands and pop stuff. Realizing that wasn't really where my heart was, like to make a viable career in the music that I enjoyed was not feasible in South Africa. So I started to go more and more towards my own music production, and then from there getting into post-production, and slowly sort of winding my way much more towards sound design, field recording. It sits really well in my sort of balance of interests. The technical side, the creative side, just sort of drew me in. There's that like ephemeral nature to sound and sound design, which I really enjoy.
So how did that really happen from becoming interested in post-production and sound design, field recording, to the opportunities that you have had, such as recording stuff for Boom Library and all those legendary libraries you did?
It is actually quite an interesting little story. So I had started recording, this must have been around 2009 or so. I'd started getting a location recorder, like one of the old Fostex 2-track, and some microphones, and started recording my own material because I really enjoyed that process. And I'd been aware of Boom Library. I think they'd released the Cinematic Metal and maybe the first Firearms library, and then they'd released the Wildcats library, and I got that library, and I was listening to it, and I could hear that while it's super useful material, there are quite a few of those recordings where you can hear that that is done in a zoo setting, and you can hear a bit of the ambience, and they work really great for monster designs because you can make those sound massive, but not necessarily for an actual lion or tiger. It's and then what actually happened was Axel sent out an emailer on his own personal email address by accident, instead of the usual sort of.
So Axel's
the creative director of Boom Library, and the sort of one of the founders. And I think he just accidentally, instead of sending from do not reply at Boom Library, he sent it out from his own email address. And I thought, oh, right, there's an email address I can respond to. I wrote back an email and said, hey, I love what you guys are doing. If you ever want to come to South Africa to record animals, I'm super happy to host you guys. You can come around. You can stay at my house. I'll help you. I just threw my hat in the ring. Didn't really expect anything. And then a couple of days later, I got an email from Axel saying, "Hi, I don't know how you got my email address, but we are currently recording all these medieval weapons, and we aren't allowed to make any big fires in Germany at the moment. It must have been like the summertime. Can you help us?" And I'd never recorded fire recordings before, but I'd read a lot about that and consumed as much sort of information about how you go about that. And I just went, yes, I can do that. And then and then proceeded to figure out how to do that.
So you basically took an opportunity that was there and made the most out of it.
Yeah, I put my hand up. I put myself out there with zero expectations of anything sort of coming from that, and it was just being present and being available.
Because you witnessed and was part of the whole evolution of sound effects libraries, creating them, also selling them. You mentioned a sound effect, which was like the platform, or still is, for individual sound effects creators to put it up there and to use that platform to sell sound effects there. How do you see the business model for, let's say, a sound designer to get into that field of work now?
It's a very interesting question. You can see that there is a sort of sort of a terminal velocity that needs to be reached in terms of how much material you have out there. I think that's, you can see Boom is just they're going at full steam and producing so much content, especially now with Boom One, which I've contributed some material to, but in order to make
One, what is that?
The Boom One, their general library. So they have a subscription model where I think every month they have it's a massive library, but every month they if you're subscribed to it, you get new material. So they're ferociously recording and sourcing new material for that library, which is incredible. I think at this point the competition is so vast with the number of suppliers and publishers that are putting out new material. There is incredible stuff. As a business model, I don't know how profitable that is until you get a certain sort of body of work out there. I don't think you can expect to record and publish like one or two libraries unless they're incredibly specific and needed. I think it's difficult to make that your primary source of income at this point with the amount of competition.
For example, Tonsturm is maybe an example of those niche libraries that they created stuff that wasn't there on a very high quality level. Yeah. So they got their recognition for that, I guess. But even them are now also looking into creating apps and plugins and software, because the libraries themselves doesn't seem to cut it anymore.
Yeah, Boom's also going in the same way. Like they're making pretty impressive VSTs and plugins, which is great. Or I mean, the opposite direction, I guess, is Pole Position, where they have they're incredibly good at recording, especially vehicles and firearms and that sort of stuff, and they do those incredibly comprehensive, specialized libraries about, like, so if you have a film or a game that has that specific vehicle, you can get a library from them that has the full coverage. But then again, their body of work is massive.